Okay, I'm trying a different angle. But this is a book update, or as I have been calling them, a recent book purchases video. I'm gathering all of them right here. I have made two of them before. I actually don't remember exactly how long it's been since I made the last one, but some of these I haven't read in a while, so it must have been a long time ago. And I don't have overly many titles. Well, I kind of do, but most of them belong to a certain TV show, which I'm not really sure if you can count these as books. I wouldn't. I'm not, I guess, you know. But they're, you know, I'll show you them anyway. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Simpsons Comics. Holy crap, I can't even... well, 9 of them. Well, obviously I can't say anything about these separately, because I can't remember which stories are in which, and I can't remember the stories. No, but I've been reading a lot of these, obviously, but it's been a couple months, I think. I do own 7 actually, from before, so now I have 16 of these. No, 17. I have one here too that I haven't read yet. 17 of these. I have most of them. Well, I have... okay, I have half of them, but to be on the safe side. Anyway, these are Meltdown, Madness, Barn Burner, A Go-Go, Hit the Road, Get Some Fancy Book Learning, Dollars to Donuts, Confidential, and finally Wingding. I've been reading these on and off pretty regularly though, since I have so many right now. But I mean, sometimes I feel like reading them, sometimes I read one of them in a day. Well, not that often, and sometimes I wait weeks and I don't feel like reading them, but I do like these a lot. They are all great. None of them really stand out. They're quality all the way through, you could say. I like them for sure. And then I have a couple other things here. This one right here I have made a video about actually, and I can link that below. It's called Silent Echoes: Discovering Early Hollywood Through the Films of Buster Keaton, by John Bengtson, forward by Kevin Brownlow. I won't talk about it, I'm just gonna link the video down there. Then we got Eli Wallach's autobiography, The Good, the Bad and Me in My Anecdotage. This one started out good. When he tells about his childhood, that sort of drew me in. I liked that for sure. Then he mainly talks about theater and well, theater and film related anecdotes. Most of it doesn't have too much to do with his personal life, but of course it is about theater and film, so it's understandable. But you get to know Eli Wallach more, of course. It's about him, not just the movies and the plays he's been in, but his life. It's just that a very central part of his life has been the theater and the movies, so a lot of that. I thought it got a little dull after a little while when the theater had entered the picture. However, I kept on reading. Obviously I read all of it, and after a little while I thought it got damn good actually, or not damn good, but very enjoyable to read. Actually, it took me, I don't remember, I believe a week and a half, 2 weeks for me to read 100 pages, and this one is 300 pages. The other 200 pages I read in a few days. So after that I really was hooked by this. I read a lot in a short amount of time, and especially when he talks about the good, the bad and the ugly, and around that time in the 60s. Very, very good. He does talk mainly about up until like the 60s. He doesn't really, it's not very specific when it comes to later years, which I would have loved to read, like him getting roles in his old age. He was 90 years old when he wrote this, or at least in his late 80s. I recommend it, definitely. Let's see, this one is called Auschwitz, a doctor's eyewitness account by Dr. Miklos Nüsli. I believe this is one of the first books to be written. This was written very shortly after the liberation. He was I'm trying to see when this was published first. It just says 1960 as the earliest date, but you know what? I'm just gonna very quickly look here. I could have done this before, but I'm gonna see if I can find when this was first released, or when this was first written, because I believe that it was much earlier. Yeah, first published 1946. That is 1 year after, 1 year before he was experiencing these events. That's very early afterwards, obviously. He was a Jew. Where was he? He was a Jew. Where was he from? He was in Hungarian, I believe, and he was a doctor, a Jew doctor who got escorted into Auschwitz, taken into Auschwitz. Although, since he was such a skilled doctor, he managed to, but he got some privileges, I suppose. He worked in the Sonderkommando, where he was the sort of chief. I don't know what his official title was, but he was below Joseph Mengele in ranks, I suppose you could say, in Auschwitz. And yeah, he got some privileges that nobody did, basically, and it's an amazing story. He doesn't hold back on the details, especially one scene, or not scene, but one segment of this where he talks about some very disturbing behavior. You won't forget that. And 1 year after, I read that, people didn't want to read this 1 year after. It was too early. But I respect this. I mean, I respect him for writing it so early, and so it's extremely eloquent. It's a rather important account on what happened. I recommend that one very much. And then we have this one, Just Kids by Patti Smith. It's her autobiography, but it's just as much a tribute to her and Robert Mapplethorne on the cover here as it is her autobiography. She briefly tells about her childhood. Patti Smith is, of course, maybe everybody doesn't know, but she is a rock performer, rock artist, and a poet. She started out as writing poetry, and then she sort of incorporated that into rock music, and she tells about that. But anyway, as I was saying, she tells briefly about her childhood. Can you see the book? And it leads up to the 60s. She moves from home to New York, where she's alone. Where I found that the way she writes when she first arrives in New York was so captivating, and so I just wanted to read more. I was like, oh my god! I was like saying that to myself, holy crap, this is good. And then she meets Robert Mapplethorne, and from then on she tells very much in detail of each year between 68 or something and 74 maybe. So almost, well, I'd say more than half of the book is a couple years in the late 60s and early 70s. That's what it's about. It's about the relationship between the two. I could be much more specific, and it's also about what they experienced there in that. I don't know what you can call it, the culmination of culture and music and everything in New York there. But I liked it. I kind of wish that I would have liked it more. There are some aspects of it that I'm not a big fan of. Some of the way she writes in some instances, but I don't know. It was good. It was great. And this one I haven't read in a while, so I'm not going to be able to talk that much in detail about it, or I'm not going to be able to give a very good review or account, but on it. But it's anyway, it's Homage to Catalonia by George Orwell. I had read Down and Out in Paris and London by him, and I loved that one. It's one of my favorites, I think. And I wanted to read another one. And this wasn't as good, but it's still a great book about him serving in the Spanish Civil War. And being in war, extremely primitive conditions, very dirty, very cold, very just, very just primitive. That's the best word, I guess. And some stuff in this is very complicated. I don't understand everything. Some of the technical stuff, he refers to a lot of things that to me is far from obvious. That when he wrote this, he thought that people probably knows about, but I do not. Not in the long run, not in a, I definitely don't. But anyway, what I could understand, was brilliant, most of it, and anyway, I'd recommend that one too. It was great. Then we have my first Agatha Christie, Five Little Pigs, I believe it's called. Although I read this for school actually a couple of months ago. And I don't really read these books on my own. Would never pick up this kind of book, like a murder investigation like this. But I liked it surprisingly much. The details, she's written so many of these, and I'm just so amazed over. This is just one of them, and the details in this, they are. The way she comes back to certain details, the way she has structured everything in her head so to the very last detail is just extraordinary. It's very impressive, and I was very impressed, and I liked it. I don't think I'm gonna read more anytime soon, but I wouldn't mind reading another one. It's just that some stuff I would like to read more, so I don't think I'm gonna get to another one very soon. But this one I did not finish. I might in the future, but it was just too damn strange, and I was not really enjoying all of it. It's if you've read it, you know what I mean. Graham Chapman, A Liar's Autobiography, Volume 6, whatever the hell that means. First of all, A Liar's Autobiography, it's not an autobiography. It's bullshit, all of it. It's just, I don't know what this is. Anyway, very, very strange, and I could not understand all of this, or in some parts I could not understand much of it, but some parts were very funny, I have to say. I'm gonna try to get back to this one and give it another shot in the future, give it another go. But and also another reason why it's not an autobiography is because he wrote this with like 5 other people, and they just came up with bullshit, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting that one of the 5 people, or however many they were, but something like that, is Douglas Adams from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Then the last one, I tried to be rather quick in this one. I've tended to be long-winded in the past 2 ones, but this one is Anne Frank, Beyond the Diary, A Photographic Remembrance. Ruud van der Rohe and Rian Verhoeven for the Anne Frank House. Introduction by Anna Quindlen. Well, I read this one in 2 days or something. Doesn't take long. It starts with giving you some background and a bit of an overview on World War II, and then it tells you some of the stuff about Anne Frank and the Frank family that you maybe know already if you read her diary, for example, or Keys, I don't remember how you pronounce her last name, her account on the events. You're gonna recognize a bit on this. I have read those too, but there are some new stuff too, and some very interesting and touching stuff. And I think I remember, if I remember correctly, I wasn't really going to read it. I picked it up and I opened it. I was waiting for something to I don't know, and I just started reading a little bit. And when I put it down, I had read like 80 pages or something. But that didn't take much more than an hour and a half. So it goes by very fast. It's not that much text, pictures on every page. You know, there's a map here. It gives you some, you know, not just about Anne Frank, but about the war too. Although not that much, just brief, but enough to make it, you know, rather original and well worth checking out. Okay, I think that's it for this time. So if you read these, or if you have any opinions on the books or whatever, feel free to leave a comment. It ended up being 15 minutes anyway. I guess that's rather long-winded. But thank you for watching, and yeah, see you in my next video, whatever that will be.